call this Dave's nightmare. You got it, Talon!
Hey, welcome back. This is the fifth and final race of the New Brunswick Dirt Rider Association's Hare Scramble series, and there go the experts. That's Lance in red, and up in front of me, these are the intermediates, and away they go. And if you saw that small bike, that's Talon McDahlia of the Tyler McDahlia kind of fame. And we're about to go. But before we go, a little bit of a flashback here. Remember when I said I thought I might get on the podium? So I'm still in contention to potentially podium at the end of the entire series, but that seems unlikely because the next race is in Riverglade and that incorporates motocross track. And what I know about motocross, well, let me tell you. And there you go, all done. Coming into this, I'd looked at the overall standings, had done some finger math, some liberal government rationalization, and thought I could tax my way forward, but turns out, no, that's not the case. I'm gonna have to put in some hard work. Alright, let's go. Well, hey, that's not a bad start at all. I end up in third position going into this first lap. I just gotta sneak by Jody here, and that's not terrible, but I don't hold it. I actually end up falling back to about 6 because I get a little discombobulated and kind of off course, and then I get hung up on a bit of a what we're calling the waterfall, which is only a small little rock face that we have to get up and over, just simply because I chose a bad option to try and get around some people. But I'm not going to show you this first lap, not that it's terrible, but the more interesting lap is going to be the fourth lap, so let's pick it up there.
3, 3, 3! Go!
Oh, for a guy that doesn't know anything about jumping a bike, that wasn't terrible. Not bad. Most of the other jumps, I just roll them. This isn't going to be my fastest lap, but it's also not going to be my slowest. And of the 7 laps that I did, I chose the fourth one because it'll be a little bit more interesting. Some people show up. So you get to see Lance pass me, you get to see Talon pass me, you get to see Ray pass me, and Ezra pass me. You see the theme here. This is mid-race for me, and for those of you that race, I don't know if this happens to you, but if you don't have someone to battle with, you start riding and not racing. The difference being when you're racing, you're breathing out of all your orifices, and when you're riding, you're just kind of cruising along, which is sort of what I'm doing right now. Lance is going to come up and he's going to remind me we're racing. Probably can't hear it on the video, but I can hear it. Lance in that 4-stroke, he's coming.
Go get him, buddy!
So that was good. That was reminding me that we're still racing. I kind of broke that little cloud that I was floating in my own head. And while the 300 will pull pretty good against the 450 on the upper end, and it would have been fun to stuff him in the corner, there's not really much point to it because he was going to get in front of me regardless, and I would have been holding him up. The difference between someone that races in the expert class and myself in the plus 40 with my particular skill set is going to become evident very quickly here as Lance disappears. But that said, the slower guys can get pulled along by the fast guys for brief moments, just like the fast guys can feed off the souls of the slow ones. And on that note, I must be like a goddamn Gordon Ramsay because I've fed a lot of people. just around this corner is a bit of a foreshadowing of what we're in for. These ruts and this mud, although very short here, is just a small taste of what's coming. Tyler McDalia's son Talon is racing today, and Talon is, I think, 12 years old, and he's on an 85cc bike. And he entered the Intermediate A, and all the Intermediate A's were pretty nervous, and for good reason.
Get him, Talon! Talon Nagli at it. I can't say his name. Tyler's son. 11 years old. He's just smoking me on an 85, and most of his class probably too. He's riding Intermediate A. Yeah, that's crazy.
Until you've experienced getting your doors blown off by someone that's half your size on a bike that's less than half your cc's, it's hard to explain. But let's ask Ray.
Ray trying to catch him.
I don't know that Talon would have won this race outright, but he was certainly a contender. The only thing that took him out of the running were these deep ruts. On a small wheel bike, the ruts were just simply getting too deep, and his foot pegs were digging in before his tire could actually get to the bottom and dig in. And then that brings us to this section. I'm not really sure how to describe it. Maybe a river of shit. You don't want to be in it. You're grateful when you get out of it. And then when you're in it, you're just kind of just keeping your mouth shut and slogging through it. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I do 7 laps through all of this, and I can say in the later laps this starts to get a lot tackier, which isn't to say more grip, slightly more, but what it does is stick to the bike. And when I was done this race, probably, and no exaggeration, I probably took 30 pounds of mud off my bike. I'm not sure what the technique was to get through this cleanly. There was only a few riders that were able to do it. Some were able to go faster, some not so much. But it seemed that there was a happy medium there of keeping a good pace, which you could then force your front wheel to go where you wanted it, and staying kind of up on the pegs where you could. There were some spots here where the ruts get so deep that your feet just get blown off the pegs by hitting the dirt. You'll get a sense of that here in a second. But towards the end, I think I was starting to get it. I'm not sure. Doesn't really feel like I'm riding here, just kind of paddling my bike along. But that's just how it goes. And any extra effort to keep your bike upright just caused your heart rate to spike and sucked a little bit more life out of you. And for some, their entire life force was drained. And I have no doubt there's a dozen bodies back here. The bikes probably got picked up because people will always, need spare parts. But Riverglade's gonna have to deal with those bodies at some point, or, well, leave them for the bears, I guess. I'm kidding, of course. Body parts are worth more than bike parts. Here's the worst of it coming up right here. This little quagmire is, it got really chewed out. There were multiple lines and none of them were good. The better line ultimately ended up becoming the one to the left, not the one I'm going to take, obviously, because I'm not that smart. So I just keep going through the middle of this shithole, and it is what it is. Just keep moving.
He's giving her, eh?
That's Mr. Halfpenny there, and that's Ewan's grandfather and Al's dad. And that sound that you hear back there, that's Talon trying to get through this stuff.
2 seconds.
The sound effects coming out of me. 2-second tactical pause, drink some water, shake the hands out, and then get moving again. If you stay still for too long, well, you're going to fall under Newton's first law of motion, which states that a body at rest will remain at rest unless an outside force acts on it. Now, I don't want to challenge Newton on his law of motion, but short of another rider running into you, there is no outside force that's going to get you moving again. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. So the sooner you do that, the sooner you're going to be moving again, and the less time you're going to lose sitting on the side of the trail. And that's kind of a philosophy I've held on to for a long time. Many years ago, while on patrol in a training exercise, in the dark, stumbling over some body that was wrapped around a tree and crying softly in the darkness because of the hardship, I put it to them that once they're all done crying and having wasted a bunch of tears and dehydrated themselves, they're still going to have to stand up and walk themselves out, because I sure as shit am not carrying them out. And just as those words made sense to me then, and made sense to that individual who did stand themselves up and carry on with the patrol, it's something I've tried to hold on to. If you're going to stop, do your tactical pause, make it short, keep moving.
Come on.
And just as my spirits are starting to flag and I'm slowing down from being in this river of shit for so long, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's the end of the river, but it's also where Mark and Kevin are cheering me on.
Boy, she's getting hard now. Woo.
Well, with a little bit of inspiration there, I'm kind of like a puppy that just ate and then had a good shit, and now I want to run around in circles and go fast. And it's easy to be inspired to go fast when you're on this highway-wide track. Unfortunately though, this track comes with some jumps. And like I've said before, I don't know anything about jumping a bike. I've tried a few times, half-heartedly, so I think I need to put a little more dedication into that and figure it out, because it does slow me down some. So stand by for the fall. I don't mean like I'm gonna fall, but this fall when I'm gonna try and do some more motocross. I try to make up for going slow over the jumps by going fast on the straights. I thought this was an interesting choice for course layout, which was to have us go down this hill directly towards the highway and probably freak out a few of the drivers, then to go spinning back up this hill and fling mud everywhere, only to amuse those same drivers. Nobody called in, so I guess it was okay. Well, we're coming to the end of the video. I did say this lap was a little more interesting because I got passed by Lance, I got passed by Hare, I got passed by Talon, and I did mention Ezra, so here's Ezra. And by no means was that a complete list of all the people that passed me. I think there were a few others. But overall, this race goes well for me. If you recall, I mentioned that I thought I was in contention. I was sitting in 4th place overall. And in this race here, I thought I had blown it. In the first lap, I had gotten stuck on this little rock hill that you're going to see coming up as I tried to work my way around some bikes, and I picked a bad line. And a number of bikes went by me, so I had no idea where I was. And at this moment, in my mind, I thought I was probably sitting around a solid 6, and I was pretty okay with that. I thought that was pretty good given the group and who was racing here and how hard the race was. But as it turned out, I finished this race on the podium in 3rd place. Those points give me enough to be 3rd overall for the Hare Scramble series in the plus 40 category, so I take a trophy home at the end of the day as well. So what does that give me for the year overall? Well, it gives me a 3rd place finish at McQuaid, it gives me a 3rd place finish here at Riverglade, and it gives me a 3rd place in the point standing for the entire Hare Scramble series, which gives me 333, which is my race number.